Okay guys, hey, welcome to another edition of Cultivating Creation. I'm your host Evan Akins, and this is our first after deer season video of 2024. So here we are, February 3rd, and me and my best camera bud are on the farm today getting ready for 2024-2025. The day after season begins preparation for the next day. So thought we'd shoot a couple videos of how we did planting and how our wildlife food plots turned out. And we're here on the power line plot, and you see we got the whole width of the plot in grass. We got our feeder out, and I would say that this plot did okay. You know, we didn't have as much grass as possible, but that's mainly due to the drought. Again, like I said on a previous video, in 2023, we didn't get a rain till the middle of the end of November, which is a month later than I would like to at the bare latest. Really, I'd like to have a rain in middle of October or even early October on our seed, but that just wasn't the case this year. It just didn't rain till the middle of the end of November. So this is the result. We did have a lot of deer utilizing this food plot. A lot of the deer came from off our property and then came in, and then actually came from the interstate and came in. But me and Riley, we had our best hunt on the place, and we actually had a deer come from pan down that way and show them the road, and we were sitting in and show them the deer stand. We were sitting in the deer stand together, and we were able to take the first deer off Castsfa Creek, and it was a mature doe with 2 yearlings, and so we were excited about that. Our first hunt together, taking a deer, and that was very exciting. And so deer are utilizing this plot towards the end of the year. Really, this plot, they started utilizing it only at night. So basically, after we shot that deer in the evening time, towards the early part of the season, they stopped using it during the daytime and only utilized it at night. Speaking of, we got the best picture of the biggest deer on the place right beside that feeder, but again, it was at night. So as I think about next year, I'm thinking about that. We may transition this from a winter wheat oats food plot. We may try next year a brassica plot. So thinking about that. I'm also thinking that I might move my feeder from this food plot to Whiskey Ridge. We'll talk about that one in a minute, but just trying to think through and tweak some things. We've got a trawl feeder that we're going to move down this road. So we may have a trawl feeder here and a spin feeder on Whiskey Ridge. So just some thoughts. Again, overall, thought this food plot did okay considering the drought, but maybe there's some things we can do better for next year. So we'll do this again at Whiskey Ridge and at Creekside. Okay, hey, welcome to Creekside. Again, we're doing an after season video, and this is what it looks like after season. You see the grass did a little bit better here. Got our feeder there still going, and I was able to put up a tower. Go ahead and show them the tower. We just did the base this time, so we're able to move it if we want to, but I think we're going to leave it right there. So overall, I was pleased with this plot. We probably had the most frequent daylight utilization of this plot than any plot on the place. And if you go back to where we pushed this plot out, I kind of called that this being the most secluded plot. Every time I would sit that stand, I would see a doe and a fawn for sure, and oftentimes a lot of little bucks, and sometimes a few more mature bucks. So I was very pleased with the daylight utilization of this plot. However, we probably had less deer utilization on this plot than we did on the power line plot. We probably had more utilization on the power line plot, although it was in the nighttime, than we did on this plot. although this plot was more daylight utilization. So we put the feeder up there all the way back in September. These stumps you see, and you can see those from the video where we pushed. I use those to put minerals on and attractant on, and so very pleased with this plot, and I don't foresee any changes for this plot for next year. I think we're going to try the same setup with the stand where it's at, the same setup with the kind of grass, and the same setup with the feeder. So overall, it was a good situation. Kind of one of those where I think we'll just try it again. So stay tuned. We'll do Whiskey Ridge. No shots fired on this plot. A lot of observation, no shots fired. So stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome to Whiskey Ridge. This is how it turned out. I was not able to lime here just because of the timing of everything, and we were kind of in a rush to get everything, the seed in the ground before deer season. Didn't get it pushed. I think if I remember right, didn't get it pushed till into October. Broke up, and seed in the ground. I don't think we did seed in the ground until November. So all that to say, no lime on this plot, but for what it is, I think it turned out pretty good. A couple things about this food plot: we didn't put any feeder of any kind on it. There's no feeder here, it's just the grass. However, if you'll pan over and show them the interstate, you can visually see the plot from the interstate and the interstate from the plot. So that being said, between no lime and between the interstate just adjacent to the plot, we had the less deer utilization total of the three plots here. Now a couple things about that. We did have the most buck usage, and especially mature buck usage of this plot. And I kind of thought that would be the case even with the interstate, because this is kind of the most secluded between this and Creekside would be the most secluded plots on the place. But, you know, some thoughts for next time. Again, I think we will try to move a feeder kind of on top of the knoll there, broadcast feeder, and just have it going all year. I hope the pine trees will be a little bit taller, and I believe they will be taller, so as to screen the plot from the interstate. But I will say this, and this is kind of the caveat to all of those things. During the end of deer season, we started having mature buck usage of this plot in the daylight. And I don't have a trail camera on this, a cell camera on this plot. I do have a regular camera, and I hadn't checked the cameras in a while. And I just came in here. We had a good east wind, and I sat in that box stand. And just about where we're standing, I had a mature 7-point come out, and of all things, I missed. And so, you know, when I set my goals for this year for, you know, just purchasing the place, first year on the place, my goals were to hunt with my family, you know, maybe harvest a doe with my family, have a good hunt with my boy and my girl, and we did that. So I met my goal. And kind of the big goal, you know, should it happen, was to be able to buck hunt on here, and we kind of backed into it. And so I was very pleasantly surprised, even in this first year, we had mature bucks using this plot. So all that being said, I'm excited about the coming years. We'll probably do winter grass in here again. Hopefully we'll get the trees to grow up and screen from the interstate, and maybe the feeder helps here, and maybe it doesn't, and maybe we don't need the feeder here. Maybe next year we see less mature bucks using this plot because of the feeder. So that's part of owning your own place. You get to try out different things and test out different things and see what works. So we'll see. I hope you enjoyed the 3 videos today of how things turned out on our wildlife openings. I know I've enjoyed coming out here and kind of doing a recap, and this is really going to help me come next year. I can at least go back and watch these videos and think through my thoughts as we prepare for next year. So thanks again for watching. Hey, stay tuned and we'll share a devotional thought. Hey guys. Hey, I hope y'all enjoyed those videos about our wildlife openings, how they did in the 2023-2024 deer season. Like I've been saying this whole time, we were rushed to get them in, and honestly, I was just thankful for what they were able to do in the season we were able to have, the deer season we were able to have. But, you know, this whole video has been about evaluating fields, and as I was praying about and thinking about the devotional afterwards, you know, my mind went to another scripture verse that talks about evaluating fields, and one you may be familiar with, maybe just not in this context. So Proverbs 31, actually, Proverbs 31:16 says, she considers a field and buys it, and from her earnings she plants a vineyard. So, hey, you may have heard that verse in the middle of a Mother's Day sermon, maybe a elderly woman's or a woman's funeral. The Proverbs 31 woman is a renowned section of scripture there, and it's the end of the book of Proverbs, and it's a really beautiful section of scripture. But in that section of scripture, here you have this picture of a woman evaluating a field and buying it. And you know, the context necessarily isn't the same for our evaluation today, but I think our evaluation would fit within the realm of scripture. You know, it's wise to look at a field and the work you've done and see how things turned out, and maybe think about what you might do next year. But we probably do need to talk about the context within the verses that we find today. In the context within the verses we find today, this virtuous woman, this Proverbs 31 woman, is considering a field before she buys it. And you know, I think there's a word there for us who are cultivators of creation. I think that's a good word for us to hear, to understand, and implement if we're looking at buying a field or section of land, a tract of land. We need to do our due diligence, and we need to consider it heavily before we up and purchase it. Anytime these days we're buying any size of land, especially that we think can hold game and we think we can cultivate it for our wildlife needs, it's going to be a big purchase and probably a bigger size land than, say, a lot to build a house on. So it's well worth our consideration, our prayer, our time, and doing it right. And so we see this in a virtuous woman, and maybe these are some things that we as cultivators of creation, we can implement. But secondly, and I want to say this, so I was looking up this passage and kind of getting ready for this devotional. It was interesting to me that one of the commentators that I read talked about how this purchasing and transaction in the day of the Proverbs writer, in his time, it would have been done exclusively by men, if I'm understanding that correctly, or at least if not exclusively, mostly by men. And so here you have this exception to the rule, I guess you could say, of this woman who is evaluating a field and buying it perhaps for her husband, or at least and along with her husband. And I think there's a word there for us, even though certainly our cultures have changed. Plenty of women today buy and sell land every day, so it's not the same there. But I think there's a word here for us as cultivators of creation to involve our spouses, whether we're the woman and the man and the woman. Again, when we purchase these tracts of land, this needs to be a family decision. This needs to be something to where each spouse has time to think about it and to pray about it and has input on the decision, and we go from there together. I know I have certainly enjoyed the support of my wife, and she has been involved each step of the way all through these buying and sellings of different land, and even now in this YouTube video case study, we keep her involved in each step of the way. So I hope this idea helps. The Lord sure has blessed me with a virtuous woman, and I pray that He has blessed you with a virtuous spouse, and they are side by side in your endeavors to cultivate creation. Hey, if I can do anything to help, as always, contact me. Let me know how I can serve you, how I can help you cultivate creation.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Cultivating Creation. If you did and you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on that bell. Bye.
The one that got away. The biggest buck captured on Castsfa Creek trail cams.